Hi friends, welcome to our channel. I hope everyone doing great. In last class we discussed regarding how to create an object and what is data, what is variable and what are the rules we need to apply while declaring a identifier. Okay, so in this class today we are going to discuss regarding the data types in Java. There are two types of data types in Java. One is primitive data type and non-primitive data type. So we can call them as wrapper classes also. So today our focus is totally on primitive data type. So what is primitive data type? So a data type, first we have to understand what is the data type. A data type is used to indicate the size or amount of memory required to store data. So basically data types are divided between amount of size it is occupying in the memory and what is the type of that particular data. So if there are different types of data, like number is one type and some characters, it is one more type, and sometimes we may want to store true or false, that is another type of data type. So for all these things they provided different types of data types. So we'll just go through the different types of data types and we'll try with simple example. Okay, let's get started. A data type, first data type is byte. Byte, it will occupy -128 to 127, that is the range. It will occupy 8 bits. Next, short. Short is little bit bigger than byte. It will store up to 16 bits. It will occupy 16 bits. It will store from 3276 to 32767. So in that range, if you want to store any value, short data type is enough. Okay, so but generally we'll use int data type, but it will be good even you use short if you know exactly that particular value won't take more than this. Okay, so next one is int data type. Literally for most of the cases every developer will use int data type by default. Why? Because this particular data type will occupy 32 bits. It will provide more range compared to short and byte, and it will be mostly suitable data type for most of the integer values. Based on your context you need to go for long also. Long is little bit, not little bit, it will more bigger than integer. Okay, this is int, this is long. Long occupies 64 bits, double than that. Okay, this is 32 bits, this is 64 bits. Next, float. Why we need float is whenever you want to save something with decimal like 1.2, 32.5, something like that. If you want to store some price, or if you want to store some percentage in decimal, there may be chance of coming in decimals. Whenever you have a value that is coming in decimals, then you want to store it, then you should not choose int, long, short, byte. You have to go for float or double. Double is another data type which is representing float point numbers. So whenever you have a decimal with bigger number, then you have to go for double. If you have a float value with small decimal number, then you need to go for float. So float occupies 32 bits, but double occupies 64 bits. The range of double value is more than float. So whenever you are expecting a bigger value in your calculation of your application, based on that you need to choose double. Okay, if you are getting very less value, then no issue, you can directly use float. So next one is char. Char, internally it is using Unicode character. So Unicode character in the sense it will store alphabets. So basically we will use char to store a alphabet. Only one letter we can store as part of this. The size of it is 16 bits. Okay, next one is Boolean. This is a logical value where we can store either true or false. This is just occupy less than or equal to 1 bit. Okay, so it is by default value for this one is false. For all numbers default value is 0. For floating point values 0.0 and double 0.0. For Unicode characters, for character is a Unicode. it will in the default value it will occupy with /u000, that is Unicode symbol actually. Okay, so we'll go through the program and we'll assign some values to these data types and we'll print those values. Okay, basically you no need to remember all the data ranges, but you need to have in mind the size of each data type, when to use which data type. Suppose you are getting a very big number in decimals, then you need to go for double. You are getting very smaller number with decimal, then you need to go for float. If you are getting only number, then you need to go for int. If you are getting very big number without decimals, then you need to go for long. This way you need to decide. If you want to store a single character, better to go for char. If you want to store any logical value like true or false, you have to go for Boolean. Boolean will store only true or false. If you want to store 0 or 1, you should not use that one. For that you can use int, or you can even use byte. Byte will store up to -128 to 127. Okay, so generally byte will use as a byte array. Wherever we want to write something into byte array, we'll use. As part of arrays concept, we will go through that byte array concept. So for now you just remember byte is a data type which can occupy 8 bits. 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So now we'll just start a simple program. Let's see how we can declare the values and we'll print it. So I will just take a example class char. In the char I am going to declare all the values. Okay, so these are the values I am going to declare. Number of doors equal to 4, I am just declaring. So number of wheels equal to 4. Sales count, it's a more number of cars sold, na, then the number will be very large. Suppose like number will be this much long, so I will go for long. Whenever you have a decimal value with a smaller number, 12.2. Price of a car, double is a very bigger value, so you can store like okay, every statement should end with a semicolon in Java. Okay, you need to remind. So for Boolean I will simply say equal to true. By default the value is false. If you didn't declare anything, by default it will be false. So I'm just going to save my program as car.java. Okay, whatever name I have given here, the same name I am storing there. Okay, so I'm just giving drive type is manual, means I will give a single character I am going to store. So capacity I will simply give 1 2. Okay, so here we declared int 4, short 4. Even 4 also you can give, or even more value also you can give. So generally we will use int. Okay, or for decimal values we will use double, or little bit bigger value we are expecting, means we will use long. Okay, these are all primitive data types. So non-primitive data types are also there. Those are all also same. Only thing is those are all object type. So those things we will discuss again later. So for now these are the basics we have to know before starting any of the program. Okay, so whenever you want to store something, you need to use these data types. We can call this as a data type, and we can call this as an identifier, and entered together we can call it as a variable initialization. Okay, whenever you want to store some value, you need to take a variable and you need to take a data type and we will store the value inside a memory representing with a identifier. This is nothing but identifier. So now I am going to print all these values. Okay, so first I am going to print integer value. So integer data type. What is the integer data type? We given here number of doors, right? So I'll just print that one. This is just demonstration to understand how we can store values inside a different data types. So, and we need to understand what are the data types available. Suppose if we try to insert something inside Boolean, we'll get an error. If you give true or false, then only it will take. If you give true in small letter, then only it will take. If you try to give like this, then you will get an error. See the color change. If you try to give like this, then it is giving wrong color, right? So this is the right way of doing it. So here I am just printing it. So how to print? I am giving this some text plus the variable name. These variables, we can call them as instance variables. There are different types of variables in Java. Those things also we are going to discuss in next classes. Okay, so I'm just going to print integer, short, double, everything will print now here. What is the short? Number of wheels. Sales count is long. Next, float, price of car. Whenever you are declaring float, you need to differentiate between float value and double value. For that, you simply say f. Otherwise, it will treat it as a double and you will get the error. So by default, it will treat any decimal value as a double. So to represent a float data type, you need to give f here. Then only it will recognize as a float value. Otherwise, it will try to convert that into double, but if you declared as a float, then you will get error. That we will see. Price of car are given. Next, total sales amount. You guys can simply interchange and check either you guys are able to save it or not. Okay, in place of use new model, you just try to insert some number, you will get an error. Sorry, we have to Boolean. This is Boolean. Boolean value will be true or false. If you didn't assign anything, it will be false. Drive type. This is character. Character means it will store only single character. It will be like in single quotes. If you try to give double quotes, it won't accept. It should be like single quotes. Inside single quotes, you need to print. You need to give the single character. Single character only it can save. Next one is byte. So byte also has some range, right? If you give more than this, you will get an error. So we need to give within the range of that particular byte data type. Okay, now I have given everything. So we'll just compile it and we'll run it. Java C space car.java. Okay. So once it whenever you want to call these variables, then you need to create an object for that car. Then only you can able to call it. Car C equal to new car. Okay, you just take it as my car. Okay, so object dot that particular variable name, then only it will print. Okay, so this is the these are the instance variables, so we have to do like this. So if it is static variable, we can directly call it. We will see the difference between static variable and instance variable later point of time. Whenever you declare some variables here, if you want to print, you need to create an object inside a main method and then you need to call it. Okay, how you will call the instance variable? If you didn't provide it properly, then what's the error we are getting? Non-static variable cannot be referenced from a static constraint context. So these are all non-static. We didn't give an in front of it, we didn't give an static, right? So that's why they're all non-static, we can say. Okay, what is static, what is instance variable, that we can discuss in the next section. So for now, you just remember, whenever you want to get those values, you need to create an object for that particular class, and then we need to call that object name dot variable name. So now we will compile. Now it will compile successfully. So now we are getting some other illegal start. So we didn't declare properly here, so that's why didn't saved it. See here, my card dot capacity. Okay, now it will compile. Don't worry about errors. So whenever you are getting error, then only you will learn. So whenever you got error, just read the error and then correct it and then compile. It will show the with line number. Okay, don't need to worry. Okay, now it compiled successfully. So now we'll run the program java char. While executing the program, we need to simply give java space that particular class name. So now we got all the values, right? So suppose if you want to do assign some different values, then you will get error. Suppose here in place of Boolean, if I try to give some 0 or 1, if you try to compile, in compilation itself you will get error. See, incompatible types, so we cannot pass into Boolean. Okay, similarly, if you try to pass some decimal value, inside int, then also you will get loss of precision error. The lossy conversion, possible lossy conversion from double to int. It is treating by default it as a double. If you give f, then only it will treat it as a float. Then the error will change now. See, now it is saying float to int. Previously it is saying double to int. Why? Because if you didn't given any f here, then it will treat it as a double value. By default, any decimal value, it will treat it as a double value. So that's why we are giving f here. If you didn't give an f here, then it will automatically treat it as a double value. Double value you are trying to assign to float, so you will get error. Why? Because double will occupy more memory, so it will take bigger number. So if you try to assign into shorter memory, then you will get problem. So if you want to store int inside long, there is no issue. If you want to store long value into int, then there will be a problem. We cannot store a bigger number in smaller data type, but you can store smaller number into bigger data type. You can store short inside int, you can store byte inside int, this number inside int, but you cannot store bigger value like double inside smaller value float. Okay, so if you try it here, now you will get error again. Why? Because we didn't give an f, right? So we didn't give an f, by default it will treat it as a double. So possible loss of conversion from double to float. So it is trying to change this value to this double value to float, but if you give f, then it will understand it is a float value, so we won't get any error. Okay, these are the things. Whenever you are declaring a variable, these are all, we didn't given any static, then these are all instance variables, we can call them as instance variables. Again, in next video, again we will see clearly what is instance variables. Whenever you declare the instance variable, if you want to access it, definitely you need to create an object. Suppose if you declared these variables instead of here, you declared here, then you no need to create object, you can directly print it. Why? Because these variables we can call it as local variables. Local variables are available within this particular method, so that is the difference between local variables and instance variables. Suppose generally I will take some simple value inside this method, like int test equal to 1. I'm just taking for your understanding. Okay, I'm just printing this without creating any object. I can able to print it. Now if you type compile, space char, okay, see, now we are printing integer value 1, where it is printing this one. Okay, similarly if you declare a variable here, static, so you cannot duplicate the variable. Same name if you try to give in here, you will get error. Okay, you should not use similar values. Suppose we will just try it, so that whenever you get errors, just go through it, so then only you will understand the concept. Suppose now I given the same name, so what's the error we are getting? Variable number of doors is already defined in class char, so where we are getting that error? Number 6, line number 6. See, line number 6. So initially I declared here, second time whenever we are declaring here, it is giving problem. So I just changing the variable name to some test, but test here we used, but we won't get any error. Why? Because this is inside this particular method only, so this is outside, so it is a static variable. Static variable you can directly access it. You can directly access it inside a static method like class name dot test. See, it's compiled successfully. Java car, it's printed. See, for your difference, we'll simply say here static int, so we'll give some different value 10. Okay, there is much difference between static variable and local variable and instance variable. We'll see those differences again later class. Okay, see, now if you see static int 10, integer 1, integer 4. So based on this, whenever you declare a variable as static without creating any object, using class name, you can call that particular variable. So class name dot that particular variable, then you can print it. You can call it inside a static method, but if you declare inside a method variable, we can call this method as a local variable. Local variable, it will be available only within this particular method. It won't be available outside this method. Okay, I hope you guys understand clearly. Is there any questions in this data type section? Please comment in our video, below our video, so that I will reply to you guys. Okay, I hope everyone following this class. In next class we are going to see what is local variable, what is instance variable, and what is static variable. Along with it, we will go through the methods also, how to declare a method, how we can call those methods without creating object, how to call a static method without creating object, how to access static variable. What's the difference between these two? When we are go for static variable, when we will go for instance variable. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel so that you will get daily updates. Please click on bell icon, so whenever we uploaded a video you will get a notification, so that you guys can follow and update your knowledge. Okay, thank you, take care, bye.